Whenever we commit to growing or learning something new, when we decide that we want to bring a certain goal or vision into reality, there are a number of different ways that we can approach things. Some are quite sustainable and some not so sustainable. The not so sustainable looks a little bit like this. I'm curious if you can identify with this. You have an idea. It starts with a lot of gusto. You've got a lot of energy behind it. But sometimes within a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a couple of days, the energy is gone. You feel drained, you feel overwhelmed, frustrated. It's just not moving forward like you imagined it might. Now, a more sustainable approach is one that starts slowly, but it's something that actually brings you energy along the way. It increases your mental ease. It gives you more headspace to be able to focus in on the things that you truly choose to do. Sounds kind of interesting, right? This idea of sustainable forward movement. Well, as we start in on this learning journey, I want to give you 4 simple strategies for bringing more sustainable movement into whatever your goals are as an agri-leader, whether that's with personal development or more on the professional side. And I know oftentimes we think of those as 2 separate things, but they're intimately interrelated. So, curious? All right. The first strategy is to get crystal clear on your intention of why you would choose to do this. This question of, why is it that I want to grow in this way or learn this new skill? Why is it that I want to go after this new project or goal? This is the moment that oftentimes we find ourselves with a big picture idea, but we haven't gotten specific about why it is that we ourselves are excited to pursue this topic. Now, I don't know if you can identify with this, but I've had this experience before where I've gotten into a project, there was a lot of energy behind it, and halfway through, or sometimes all the way at the end, I realized that this effort that I've put in is not bringing what I thought it would. It's not actually even what I truly wanted to do. Maybe I saw a lot of my industry partners around me doing the same thing and thought, I should probably do that. Or perhaps it's just something that felt like an interesting approach, but after putting a lot of energy into it, I realized this didn't bring anything for my forward movement in what I would choose. So, get crystal clear on your intention of why. Why is this important to me? Why does it align with my values? Why does it excite me? Why do I feel like it would bring value not only to me, but also to those around me? Getting crystal clear. The second is to, how to say this, to fall in love with the small steps. Our brains are hardwired to notice the big bang moments in life. If you will, maybe I take a farming example. This is the harvest, the culmination, the big moment when everything that we've worked for comes to fruition. And we like to think about these moments, that end vision, that goal. But oftentimes, and I'm sure you as agri-leaders understand this intimately, we forget all of the small, daily, momentary steps that make that big bang possible. We keep our focus on that end point, but we forget to pay attention in this moment. And so to fall in love with the small steps. Now, when we have these big picture visions, for example, if I've gotten clear and I say, I want to better my self-leadership, I want to Why? Because I want to feel more confident. I want to feel like I trust myself to move, and I want to feel like those around me trust me more. Then these small steps might look something like, well, what does that look like in daily life? I know that trust is built in the small moments and the small decisions. And so oftentimes, perhaps it might be, how can I do 1 or 2 small actions today that build trust either for myself or with my team, with my family, maybe with my industry partners, my sellers and buyers, right? So falling in love with the small steps, because what happens is these small moments end up snowballing into quite significant change without feeling like we're exerting tons and tons of energy. But we see that change, but it's a long game. It's not the short game. The third is really a big energy conservation topic because it's something we call habit stacking. The first place I heard about it was from a guy named James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. And I love this idea because what he says is that we each have hundreds of habits that are established in our day-to-day routines. The time that we get up, how we brush our teeth and when we brush our teeth, that ritualistic first morning coffee or tea, the way that we close down our day after our work is finished. There are many things that happen almost on autopilot for us, that we don't even have to put in a lot of effort to think or do. And what he says is this is a great opportunity to stack and pair our habits. Because we can take a habit that we want to bring in, something new, something that we think is valuable, that we understand the intention and we see these small steps. But instead of having to add one more thing to our schedule, because I'm certain you as agri-leaders aren't all sitting around twiddling your thumbs thinking, I wonder how I'm going to use all of this free time today. No, your time is valuable. And so instead of trying to think about how do I carve out time in my day to insert some of these new habits and growth patterns, instead we can stack them with things that are already happening to bring a lot of energy and to conserve energy. So for example, if I go back to that idea of building trust, when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning, I can take those 2 minutes as I'm scrubbing away to ask myself, how can I move with a little bit more trust today? Just one small thing. Or how can I reach out to someone in my network, someone that I do business with, or someone, even maybe it's our personal relationships, to do one thing, to say one thing, to connect in one way that builds trust. And so instead of that toothbrushing moment being something that's mindless, it now brings us energy. It brings us one step closer to our goal. The fourth strategy is perhaps one of the most important, and it's also one of the most underrated. And this does require a little bit of carving out of time, but I promise you it's worth it. And this is the art of reflection. So often we are moving so quickly in our days that we forget to stop and to do a couple of things in these moments of reflection to first see, what have I done? What's happened over the past days or weeks or months? How have I moved closer to my goals and my ideas of what it is that I want to create in this life? The second is to celebrate. We're going to talk about this in one of the later videos, but this idea of celebration is not something just to feed our egos. When we celebrate, literally our brain releases these beautiful chemicals and hormones. And our brain then asks the question, oh my gosh, that felt good. What did I do for this to happen? And how can I do more of that? This is one of those strategies that when we celebrate, we actually feed our body's repairing system. Those great chemicals don't just make us feel good, but they support our body health. They support our mental health. And so when we're taking care to celebrate and reflect on the ways that we've succeeded and maybe taken a few steps forward, this is the moment when we give ourselves more energy. And this is where we can also continue to build more sustainability and drive behind wanting to continue these practices. So, 4 strategies. Get crystal clear. Fall in love with the small steps. Remember to stack your habits. It's not about necessarily adding a whole bunch of new things, but how can you integrate these things into your existing life? And 4th, don't forget to reflect, to see how far you've come, and to celebrate those wins.